I'm going to be doing a Q&A while I arrange these flowers. My sweet friend Ariana got them for me for my birthday. I've arranged all of the receptacles that I could find. I know I have bigger ones, but I could not find them. It kind of makes me feel like less of an adult. I feel like adults have many vases. As you can tell, the majority of these vases are jars. This is a Rouse pasta sauce jar. Oh well. Okay, so the first question is, where did you grow up and how many places have you lived? Great question. I grew up moving around. I lived in 7 different countries by the time I was 18 because of my dad's work. He worked for UNICEF. I lived in Papua New Guinea, Pakistan, Israel, Albania, Italy, the Philippines, and China. But when people ask, depending on who they are and what the context is, I'll often just say, like, I grew up moving around. I mostly lived in China and the Philippines. It's easier, and that was where I spent like a lot of formative years. I learned from when I cut my bangs that you start with less, and then you can always keep cutting. I should have put water in these. Dumb. Okay, I'll be back. Put water in these 3. Someone asked for an embarrassing poop story. I do have one like majorly embarrassing poop story, but there are approximately 6 people in the world who know that story, and I don't think I can share it. It's not even like, oh, it's a little embarrassing. It's like you would be concerned for me. But little known fact is that hearing poop stories is one of my favorite activities. I will ask a group of people, like, please tell me whatever embarrassing poop stories you know. They don't have to be you, just like ones that you've heard, like Hall of Fame stories. Someone asked, how did I celebrate birthdays growing up? My family's not very big on like gift giving and birthdays in general for no particular reason. It's just, I think for my parents, it's not like a major love language for them. When we were like little, I had birthdays. I remember one time I had like a scary birthday. There was this one station, my sister was leading it. She was probably in like 8th grade, leading a bunch of 5th graders. You had to like be blindfolded and dunk your hands in some bowl, and it would be like spaghetti, and she'd be like, these are the brains, or like peeled grapes, like, these are your eyes. That was a great birthday. But yeah, we're not huge on birthdays. It's been really funny because David's family is really big on like gift giving. I think it's really sweet. So I'm learning. And David and I have been big on celebrating birthdays with each other. We don't do a lot for it, but we get each other gifts and we like think about it more intentionally. What is your full-time job now? My full-time job is this. Arranging flowers. I'm a florist, everyone. No, my full-time job is freelancing. So I will work on videos for individual people or like an organization or a media company. But what's really been taking up a lot of my time recently is making YouTube videos in an effort to make this my full-time job. So right now I'm in like a period of hustling, but also working on Podcrushed, podcast that I'm doing with David, our friend Nava, and Penn Badgley. That's taking up quite a bit of time and will take up more and more times. Episodes are being released soon. This spring, guys. Get ready. You guys, you better listen to the podcast when it comes out. I think it's going to be good. Not biased or anything. Okay, here's a related question. I want to quit my full-time job and start freelancing. How did you do it? This is a funny story, actually. Nava, one of the friends who we're doing Podcrushed with, used to live in New York, in Brooklyn, in the same neighborhood as we did. When Dave and I left, we were saying goodbye to everybody. This was end of May 2020. Took a scooter and we went around our neighborhood and just like said bye to people on their stoops. And we were saying bye to Nava. We were just chatting with her. She was asking what my plans were when I moved to LA. And I told her that I was planning to take a break from the classroom for the time being and maybe go into ed tech or something like that. And she was really confused. She was like, wait a second. Every time I talk to you, Sophie, you're like burnt out, exhausted, kind of done with education. If you're already using this as a time to transition, go all out and like really make it a transition. And that just like changed my world. That one comment, I was kind of like trying to play it safe. Yeah, I should stick to the field that I've studied and what I know. But 2 months before that, David had bought me this camera for my birthday. And I had started making videos and I loved it. I was just doing it for fun. So anyway, Nava was like, you should really make this like a full transition. And I was like, you're kind of right. And on that stoop, like this was just a short conversation. She was like, if you could go into any field right now, what would you do? And I had just started making these videos. So I was like, I would love to do something in media. She's like, what would be your dream role? And I was like, I honestly don't even know what roles exist in media. I can't answer that question. David turned to me and he's like, I feel like you'd love to work with Soul Pancake. And I was like, yeah, that would be a dream, thinking that would never happen. And whatever, that was that. But it did plant the seed in my head of I might like to go into media. Life goes on. Maybe a week passes. I'm in the Bay Area visiting my brother, teaching. At that point, the school year hadn't ended, but I had already moved and we were teaching remote. So I was waking up at 4 a.m. to start school at 5 a.m. Pacific time. It was really intense. Pitch black, the lowest point of my teaching maybe. But the end was in sight. One day, I got a Facebook message from a cousin of a family friend who was one of the founders of Soul Pancake. And she messaged me on Facebook and goes, hey, I've seen your videos on YouTube and I think you could make some really cool stuff with Soul Pancake. Do you want to do that? And I was like, wait, what? I had just had this conversation with David and Nava. Man, this is like fun to think back on because so much has happened since then. Yeah, it was literally like out of the blue. But one of the things that became really clear to me then, and what is still true to this day, is like, keep putting stuff out there. If I hadn't made YouTube videos just, for myself and my family, she wouldn't have seen the videos and she wouldn't have had a reason to reach out to me. So it really confirmed for me, okay, you need to just keep making stuff and people will eventually see it. Things will come from it. But if you just keep making effort, something will happen. Someone else asked a question. They said what is confirmation? Do you have a clear example of it in your life? I think confirmation is when you make effort towards something and if doors open, that's confirmation that you're going in the right direction. And so that story to me is a perfect example of confirmation. I had an idea and then sort of out of the blue got this Facebook message and that to me is confirmation that you're going down the right path. So yeah, really lucky. It's hard to see my phone with all these flowers around. I love your art and heart. Oh, that's so sweet. I want to ask you if you ever considered the God of the Bible as a belief. I think what that question is asking is do I believe in the God of the Bible? And I would say yes. One of the main principles of the Bahai faith is that all world religions come from the same source and that, manifestations of God like Muhammad, Moses, Christ, Buddha, Krishna, Zoroaster, the Bab, Baha'u'llah, that all of them come from the same source and they're just different manifestations of God. So yeah, I believe in progressive revelation so that it's one revelation from God and then it's continually being updated for the needs of the time that we live in. So yeah, I do. Okay, I got a lot of questions about establishing community and building bonds of friendship as an adult. Gosh, I don't know if I'm the best person to ask this to because I don't know if I'm an expert at this. I will say getting involved in something. I think it's very hard to build community just because you want to. I would say you need some kind of structure, whether it's joining a class, some kind of program, something that helps you meet new people in a structured way because I don't know of many people starting friendships outside of structure, some third-party thing. Join clubs, classes, volunteer programs, and then also just reaching out to your neighbors. It's really hard and scary because that's not a very common thing to do, I think. And I think most people are really appreciative, right? If your neighbor reached out to you, knocked on your door and was hey, I'm having a get-together tonight. Would you want to come? You'd be excited about it. And if you wouldn't, then maybe don't do that. But I feel I would be happy if my neighbor reached out to me and knocked on my door. So that helped me to kind of get the courage to do it myself. Ooh, these are huge, you guys. And they're also spiky. Ow! If anyone knows what this flower is, please let me know. It's so cool. What are 3 to 4 books that have changed your life or thinking? Oh, you guys. This is a confessional. I have not read since high school, I feel It's really bad. I'm an extremely slow reader, and so it's hard for me to keep pace, No, but that's just an excuse. It's just exhausting for me to read. I like to listen to things. I think that's why I'm so into podcasting, because I'm finally, a way that I can learn without reading. If you have some books for me that you think will really get me back into reading, please suggest them. Someone asked, how do you discern whether God wants you to try harder or whether it is a closed door? Oh, that is really hard. I think part of it is like, you just need to be really honest with yourself. The thing that you're trying to do or to get, is that a good thing? Is it actually like going to be beneficial for you? Okay, let's say it's not a bad thing and it's still really hard. How do you now discern whether like it's a closed door or you should keep trying? I think it's just about timing. How long have you been trying and the door has been closed? How hard have you been trying? If you've been trying really hard and it's been like years, I would say it's a closed door. If you feel like you could be trying harder, there's more that you could be doing to get this thing or be this thing or do this thing, then try harder. It might not be a closed door. Yeah, I think it's up to the person. You have to decide, have you been trying extremely hard and just like everything is proving to be a dead end? Then it's a closed door. I know in the past that's been really hard for me to admit to myself, especially with like relationships. I'm very good at trying to convince myself like, oh, I just need to try harder. This is just a test. But really it was a closed door. It took me just like really sitting with myself and being like, okay, would this be a positive thing in my life? And coming to the conclusion with help from people around me that no, it wouldn't. Are you looking forward to your 30s and 40s? I am. I know I made this video the other day that was like terrified being 28. I'm not yet in that stage of life, and it's like the anticipation of getting to that stage of life is what's a little stressful. But once I'm in it, I hope I'll be able to just like embrace it. Yeah, I'm excited for that time of life. I've heard from other people who are in their 30s and 40s that like you just feel really sure of yourself. You don't care what other people think anymore, and that's really freeing. So I'm excited for that. What is something mundane that brings you joy? Walks. I made a video about this yesterday. You guys should watch it if you haven't. Walks like do wonders for me. I feel like when we lived in New York, we didn't really go on walks, but being in LA, that's a huge part of our life. And I'm so grateful. It's really life-changing. Someone said, happy birthday. Do birthdays make you feel like existential dread? Generally, no. Generally, I really like birthdays and I don't know, they kind of just like come and go, but 28 was different, guys. What is a life lesson that you've learned? That's so broad. It's kind of hard to answer that question. Just be yourself. Sounds so cheesy, but I think I spent a lot of time growing up stressed about how other people would perceive me and thinking like that some of the things that were the most meaningful to me in my life, like my faith, were things that other people wouldn't like, and so I should just kind of hide them to make other people feel comfortable. The life lesson is the things that are the most important to you are going to be the things that people gravitate towards because you're passionate about them. So people are drawn to that passion. It's attractive. So yeah, I think to just like kind of let go and be yourself. There are some others, but I don't know if they're that easy to answer here. Maybe I'll have to do a different video about them. I guess I'm just gonna continue making these flower arrangements. I want you to see these spikes.